they're all here for? All right. Well, it's always hard to present after lunch because sometimes we haven't moved around in the morning and then food sets, and so nap time kind of creeps up on us. I'll try to keep you awake with some stimulating certification information. I'm going to kind of divide this into two parts today. I'm John Bjerke. I manage the Cisco Networking Academy program in the Western U.S. I also manage all of the career colleges across the U.S. Also for the program. Today, I want to kind of start with a framework around certification, probably information most of you already know about. But the second half, I want to share some working examples here in California that will be beneficial to this audience. And so I've invited my partner, Richard Grotegut, who's a faculty member at Ohlone College, to kind of talk about certification that has legs in both K-12 and the community college environment, and really is part of the larger Pathways initiative that he's been managing for the last 5-6 years in Northern California. So with that, I'll get started.
Yeah, I don't have one.
I'll let you click.
Okay. Cool.
Sure. So here's kind of what I talked about today, the framework of certification, what it is, what is a quality certification program, and kind of take a look at the education point of view and then share kind of my Cisco or industry point of view. The second half, as we kind of get into it, want to look at how it's being implemented here in California so that it resonates with you as an audience. I know, can I have a hand of, see the hands of folks that are working here in California? Okay. Any from outside the state? Where are you guys, some of you guys from? Okay, welcome. How many people here teach Cisco Networking Academy classes or are contacted in the Academy? Okay, good. Fair number of you. So some of the points that we'll also talk about as far as what comprises a good certification program is the way that certification validates skills and, you know, how are those skills delivered and who develops them and is there alignment with certification. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So what is certification? It's really a process through which an organization validates skills. And so it verifies that someone meets competence standards, and there's usually an assessment associated with it. A certification program continues to grant recognition. So if you think about any of the certifications that are out there today, whether it's what Alan does at CompTIA, for example, whether it's Cisco, or any of the other providers, you usually have to re-up. You have to keep your skills current, and you have to pass the exam for Cisco 3 years. For other certification providers, it depends on what their program is. But the whole basis is to validate a student's skills, to keep them current, to make sure the skills are current. So one thing that's worth pointing out, I know this is probably common knowledge for all of you in the room that are instructors, industry certification is different than a certificate program. I think we all agree on that. So an industry certification, like we talked about, is dynamic. Students have to keep their skills up. In the case of a Cisco certification, they have to re-up or take the exam every 3 years, and they have to address those gaps between the previous exam and the new exam. A certificate program is static. A certificate program could be a couple of courses at a college. So as an example, I went onto Ohlone's website this morning before I came into San Francisco and kind of did a keyword search around certificate programs. So for a couple of Cisco courses they have for my CCNA classes, you know, their certificate program wants the student to complete the courses satisfactorily. They want at least 50% of the required units at Ohlone College and a minimum 2.0 grade average. So my 2 courses in there might lead to certification, but since there's only a couple of them within the certificate program and there's no requirement to re-up that certificate, it kind of stands alone. Richard, would you add anything else to that as far as?
No, I would just say that having a certificate program is important for us to show that we're accomplishing our students are retaining and completing programs. So the state of California is very interested in us doing that. But we encourage our students to do more than that just get an Ohlone certificate. Once they leave the Fremont area, people don't even know where Ohlone is. It's Ohlone College. An industry certification is really quite a bit more important. Sorry.
I think the other attributes too worth noting is that because it's static, once somebody gets a certificate, an associate degree, whatever, it can't be revoked. The person owns that to the point in time at which they receive it. If you don't re-up your certification, it does go away. Next slide. So quality. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide, but within technology, for example, those industry organizations that are offering certification really go out of their way as they're developing and managing that program within their business to make sure that they meet standards. And so this just illustrates a couple of the standard organizations that are responsible for that. Go ahead. So when you develop a certification program, is it valid, reliable, and defensible? Is there a content outline of what will be tested? So in the case of Cisco, do we have courseware that is continuously updated that meets the certification or exam questions? Was a study conducted to identify if the content is current, and is there a content outline? Within the world of networking, skills are constantly changing as technology advances, and so we have to stay on top of it. We actually have a business unit devoted to learning and certification. The training or the learning is treated separately from certification. Yes, we have subject matter experts. We also use consultants from a Cisco perspective. Are there published data on the test results? There are, but even we at Cisco have a hard time sometimes sharing it even internally with the right audience because it's a relationship between Cisco certification and in our case, Pearson VUE, who is the exam delivery provider. And so we've been fighting the battle for 6 or 8 years where we get questions about certification pass rates. It's even difficult for me as an area manager to sometimes pull that information up, but that adds quality to a program. And again, just kind of re-emphasizing from the previous page, are there research requirements? In our case, yes. You have to re-up every 3 years. You're going to have to acquire whatever these skills have developed with the new exam versus the old exam. And if you're working in industry, chances are you're going to pick that up or go through some kind of a professional development during your career to keep you up to speed. Next slide. So impartial. Is there a certification commission or board independent from the organization's board of directors? In technology, quite frequently, there are partners involved. There's enterprise accounts involved, so yes, there is feedback from the outside. What's the composition of that board? Again, it's usually people working in the industry, education, and others. Do the requirements seem objective? Are the exam questions fair? Are they related to the current skills that are required to be working in the industry? Yes, generally with a large organization, they're going to be having certification unit embedded within the organization, and that's going to be addressed organically. Training and certification are the two distinct functions. At Cisco they are, at CompTIA they are, at most organizations they are. Cisco actually has, outside of its academic partners like community colleges and other instructors at this conference, we also have a commercial learning division that provides kind of boot camp style training for corporations and other enterprise accounts. Are there clear rules as to who can and cannot proctor or administer an exam? Generally, again, the larger organizations that have a certification program are going to be partnered with an exam delivery provider. In the case of Cisco, it's with Pearson VUE. You could also be partnered with Prometric or some other exam providers as well. When you do that, the testing situation or scenario has a proctor that administers the exams for both Prometric and for Pearson VUE. Fair, I'm almost off these slides, I promise. Are there documented policies and procedures? Is there a way to file a complaint or appeal by those that feel they've been treated unfairly? This gets more into the exam delivery provider realm, so Pearson VUE, if a student has taken an exam, is there a recourse or is there a way for a student to air concerns? Yes, there is, through the proctor, and they have their own system for addressing that. Is there a documented process for how those complaints and appeals are considered? Again, yes, Cisco with students directly more in the courseware area addresses that, but again, within certification, it's handled by the exam delivery provider. Okay. So, value of certification for education institutions. Again, this is about validating student skills. If they pass their certification and put in that kind of work and study to pass it, they're going to stand apart from their peers, especially when it comes to qualifying for an internship, getting that first job, whatever it might be. The other value for a strong certification, this dynamic again is continually updated, is that it also provides a foundation for continuously updating that curriculum that supports it. Again, credibility with employers. If 4 prospects walk in and for an interview and one of them has certification and a little hands-on experience and the other 3 are fresh out of community college, it's probably more likely that the person with certification is going to win out. It really does validate skills. Communicate quality programs and add value to the programs. In your world and in career technical education, certification is really no more than one of the various outcomes. And so with Cisco, for example, we're giving students skills to get an entry-level job. We're preparing them to pass the CCNA exam, which is certification, or we're also providing them in a lot of cases, especially through the community college system, the chance to continue with their post-secondary education. So certification is just part of that larger ecosystem of outcomes. And again, the last one kind of ties back to the first about validating those skills, giving them one leg up over some other job candidates that might be looking for the same job. So this slide has showed up in previous Cisco presentations. You're probably wondering why a guy from Cisco is standing here talking to you about education. We're dedicated to transforming education globally. Has anybody been out to see our site, getideas.org? It's been created by the corporate affairs team for administrators and instructors globally. It's kind of a thought leadership site, and ideas from around the world are kind of vetted and fleshed out there, along with other investments that Cisco makes in education. And really the core is we believe that the network, the internet, can be used to kind of as the great equalizer, providing global access to education. As an organization, we have a stake in the future workforce, especially getting more students into STEM, getting more females into technology, and a stake in education as a curriculum provider with the Cisco Networking Academy. So that's kind of our education roots. So our perspective on certification, some of this will be repetitive. I think the first point is very relevant. As a global standard, our certifications are global. Our courses are offered in 8 languages. Our courses are found in 160 countries around the world. We have 1 million unique students in a year, and so that's where certification can really stand out and set a quality standard. Proving that a particular skill or knowledge has been acquired. Industry with certifications expect employees to have them. I hope Cisco knows I'm not certified, but employees, students, and graduates are more marketable. We'll talk about that. Your earning potential goes up. Go ahead, next slide. This slide is repetitive, so if you've seen some of the Cisco overview presentations in the past, it kind of starts down here at the bottom. A worker with a high school degree in today's economy, median salary of $27,000. Average worker in the United States without a college degree, $38,000. You put a college degree on top of it, it keeps climbing. Networking, after you have a college degree, maybe you have your cert, maybe you have a certificate, but maybe, not only if you don't have your certification, but maybe you have everything else, $70,000. But then you lay cert on top of the college education and the hands-on experience, it adds value. This slide kind of goes from left to right and repeats some of the things I've already said, but we leverage our expertise in ICT and networking to develop courses that are delivered through global partnerships. I mentioned 160 countries around the world. It's, I want to say, 10,000 institutions. Our Cisco Academy and those partnerships I'm referring to, that and other community-based organizations. Again, you can see how we scale globally. We provide not only technical skills or entry-level job skills, but we also provide business experience through entrepreneurship and also through health information networking that is fairly new. Some of those are content modules and white papers. The health information networking is actually a new course available in the United States for students currently enrolled in CCNA. And 21st century skills is important. Things like critical thinking, the ability for young students to be able to go out and conduct an interview or to write a resume, real life skills. So again, the outcomes I kind of talked about before, certification being one of them, but entry-level careers, entrepreneurship is some of the business skills I was talking about that are part of some of those overlay white papers we have in the Passport 21 curriculum. Or further education, continuing with your post-secondary education. Go ahead. Sure.
Do you know how many CCNAs are scheduled certifications every year?
How many master certifications every year?
How many have?
I don't know that answer. You probably can find out.
Nobody knows.
No, but I ask the question internally a lot when I
think they won't tell us.
I know.
First time or second time? There's no data.
You're just asking who passes, period, not what the attempts are.
Nice. Who passes?
I'll ask the question again. If you want to leave a card with me and I can email you, I'll start the next question.
35 at our school this last.
So we'll find out by 10,000 academies you get today.
One of the reasons why this is important, we heard earlier that unless we can demonstrate gainful employment information, we are not going to get pertinent funding. And a lot of the equipment, I look over $500,000 worth of Cisco a year. I got to spend $50,000 a year to keep it running. Okay. New equipment and training. A lot of that comes from content, pertinent funding. If I can't demonstrate some success, okay, as a result of the programs they're providing, I won't be able to be funded. So this affects the whole academy operation.
Do you have that kind of feedback from your own students and the alumni?
The few that, it's less than 20% response, so that's the response rate, okay? So that's not sufficient to develop a solid database of success. And of course,
which school are you from?
The community college of Rhode Island.
Yeah, we're in Richard. Okay.
We've been doing it for 14 years.
Okay.
But very very aspects of it, you see some including now the healthcare network conference, okay? But the point is that for this model to succeed at the community college level, there's got to be a way of funding it. It's a high-cost program, okay? And I think Cisco has to really examine, the data, first of all, the data that's available, and the cost to the institution.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Okay. What about instructors? What's the duration of their certification and validation?
So if I hear your question right now, instructors in the Cisco Networking Academy program aren't required to be certified. We highly recommend it. Moving forward, though, Richard can tell you some more stories about the way that the program is morphing. As those of you that are involved in the program know, we're going through a transition called Academy Evolution. We're changing the types of partnerships that we have. We're flattening it from 3 tiers to 2 tiers. Without a lot of detail, however, the new instructor trainer qualifications are very stringent, and instructors will have to be certified within 1 year for each curriculum that they're teaching. So.
And that's just the instructor trainers?
Yes. Right, that's not an instructor that teaches the students. But that is a shift we're making in the program for quality. Does that address?
What about the instructors who teach students? I have to take my class.
Right now, it's not a requirement. We would prefer it, but we can hopefully enforce that. Okay. Anything else before I go on? The fun part's coming up. Richard's a good speaker, and he has to do some cool things in the South Bay. For those of you that don't already know, but maybe have a little background knowledge about the program, within the Networking Academy, every single one of our courses is a program of study, and it is aligned with an industry certification. So in the case of IT Essentials, it's a single course, but it does map to CompTIA's A+ exam, CompTIA and Cisco product management have a very close relationship. Every time that certification changes, our curriculum moves ahead of version. CCNA, same thing. In the discovery track for CCNA, we have 2 courses that provide an entry-level network certification, and in the exploration track, it also prepares you for the full CCNA certification. 2 different learning methodologies accomplishing the same thing, prepping a student to pass the CCNA certification exam. We also have a CCNA security, which matches the CCNA security credential that came out a couple of years ago. We don't currently have curriculum that maps voice or wireless, but there's some great things that have been developed out in the community, and as we change through Academy evolution, there's some great things happening around voice and wireless right now. And CCNP, there are 3 different CCNP courses. Each course has its own exam. To get the CCNP credential, however, you need to pass all 3 courses.
And the CCNP.
And CCNP. To be honest. I'd like to introduce Richard Grotegut. Let's go ahead to the next slide. And just to kind of give you some background, a lot of what the slides are that I filtered from Richard yesterday are about his work in pathways. But the thing that's really cool is, at the very center of this pathways map is certification and preparation for high school students for CCE and T. And you want to just kind of hand that off?
Sure, thanks, John. Yeah. Computer people love flowcharts, so this is something I use quite a bit. But some of our administrators don't like it too much. But in order for California high schools to qualify for some of those Perkins funds and California Partnership Academy grants, they have to have a program of study that leads to some kind of certification. So it was an easy thing to do to use Cisco Academy with the A+ classes and the CSEN courses to provide that kind of curriculum, and in a standardized way that mapped well with what we were doing at the community college. So it meant articulation could work quite simply, quite easily. But John wanted me to talk about the next slide, please. This little summer institute that we began. We've done it for 3 summers in a row, and it was a way to bridge the high school students to our campus. So we actually conducted the certification prep course at our campus in our lab in the summer when our equipment was available, teachers were available as well. So we've done it as a 4-week each time. If we go to the next slide, please. Students need to have taken the courses at their high schools, either in the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. The IT Essentials or the CCNA Discovery courses, the first one and second one, Discovery 1 and Discovery 2, for those of you that are familiar with the Cisco curriculum. We decided to run our summer boot camp for CCNA Discovery. Let's go ahead and do the next slide. So on our first year, we had 14 students participate. I forgot to get their photo release, so I had to. Anyway, this is a pilot group. They didn't all come in with the necessary prerequisites, which was to have completed the Discovery 1 and 2. Some of them only had done Discovery 1, so we really needed to had to do quite a bit of work to get them up to speed to be able to pass the cert. Next slide. So the content was exactly that. Focus on the CSENT exam, use the ICND1 official certification guides. The kids had to buy the book for $30. That was this prep book that we had. And to entice that first group, we offered them a free refurbished laptop computer, a little Dell that allowed them to connect this COM port so they could connect to their equipment. A lot of that they hadn't really seen at their high school. They didn't have enough equipment. They had packet tracer and things like that, but they didn't really have a lot of gear. And in our lab in the summer, we could use our college lab for them to come in and take classes. Next slide. We ran the Institute for a whole month, 4 weeks in July. Those students gave up their summers. They came every day from Monday through Thursday in our lab all day long, working on labs and topics pertinent to the exam itself. So different than the curriculum. The curriculum follows a certain path. We focused on the actual certification exam prep with the 7 topics. Next slide. There was daily topics, so morning lecture and then lots of hands-on experience and a whole week at the end on just cram days, test prep software, going over the exam and testing it. Next slide. And lots of practice. I guess this is a build slide.
You keep pushing the space bar.
There you go. So lots of practice. We have 4 different high schools participating in that particular summer session. This is the second-year graduates. I did get their photo release. We had students from local schools in Fremont. 9 out of these 15 students passed the CSEM on the first try, which was not a small endeavor. They have to have at least an 80% passing score. It's a test of which the like they've never done before in high school. This is the first time. Certification exams are really different. They have 90 minutes. It's on the computer. Everything's fair game. Some of the questions are totally unfair, and they complained about them, but who do you complain to? Right?
Richard, stop there for a second. So on some of the stuff I talked about in the framework of certification and quality, what sort of ways did your students have to communicate back to Pearson or Cisco if they felt there was something unfair during that 90-minute exam period? Was there?
Well, there is a mechanism. We're also a Pearson View testing center, so that helped. So they actually took the test right on our school site. Much more comfortable for them to do that as well. So there was that mechanism. Shannon Victoria Harris, she's the young woman in the back right, the blonde-haired gal from Castro Valley High School right here in the East Bay, almost got a perfect score. I mean, Shannon she did better than I did. I didn't tell her that. She was awesome. Next slide. So in our most recent iteration, we actually got approval. The previous 2 summers we sort of did this for free. My other co-faculty members and I. It was fun. We enjoyed it. The high school kids in small doses are wonderful. But your high school teachers, having them for a few weeks is great, especially those that really want to be there. And it was wonderful. And you learn a lot from them. As well, but we got enough interest to actually create a course at Ohlone in our system that they could register for, get credit for, and the state could pay us a portion of it for it, and we could pay the instructors. So this last group, next slide, this is the group that took our class this summer, 2011. We had 15 high school students. We had a total of 19 students. We had to have a capacity of 20, so we needed to make sure we had a few college students in there as well that registered for the class. The high school students, of them, 12 out of the 15 passed their CSEM. So,
can I interrupt you here one more time? Sure. Getting back to the question from Rhode Island. Do these kind of pass rates or the metrics that you can collect locally from your program, what does that do for you from a marketing perspective or a funding perspective?
Well, it's great. I mean, this is the way we get the numbers. Because they're taking the test with us. We know what the numbers are. We don't have to go back and ask someone else. We cannot disclose. It was only $450 to become a person view to buy their gear. You have to buy a camera. You have to buy a signature pad. It's really well worth doing.
Would you charge tuition for it?
Yeah, we charged, I'll get to that, I have a slide for that. There's tuition. It was a regular college course, so here in California at the time it was just $28 a unit, so $56. Now it's more. Now we have a problem. If I could go back to that slide, I just wanted to acknowledge Cody Brown. He actually was a junior. He's covered up. He's right underneath the clock. You can only see half of his face there. He got a 98.5, so he beat Shannon's score. He was really proud of that. That was on his first try. That's almost perfect. Go ahead. Yeah. All right. How do we make this sustainable so we can do it each summer? We have a plan for this summer again. Next slide. We chose the Discovery curriculum because if they complete Discovery 1 and 2 at their high school satisfactorily and they score a decent score on their final exam, they're eligible for a discounted voucher for the CSEM exam, 50% off. So the test was $62. We paid for that, for them. So they paid nothing to take the test one time, right, the first time. We could do A+ if you wanted, but A+ is much more expensive. There's 2 exams. They're each $170 a piece. If you become a CompTIA authorized partner, which I would highly recommend you do that too, you can get the discounts of half, almost 60% off. But still, the 2 A+ tests are $80 each, so $160 is still kind of expensive. So we didn't do A+, but you could certainly do a boot camp with A+. Next slide. We became a test center. I highly recommend that too. It allows us to provide a testing facility right on campus, so that on the very last day they took their test on our campus. In the same rooms they were sitting in doing their lectures and other topics.
Does CompTIA leverage Pearson VUE, or do they use voluntary? For the A+ exam?
CompTIA uses Pearson VUE also, yeah.
I have a funny question.
Okay.
What equipment do you use for A+?
What?
The computers you open up?
Oh yeah, we accept refurbished equipment. We also have this sort of recycling arm that we get a lot of, called STRUT, Students Recycling Use Technology. We get quite a bit of old equipment.
Do you do all those things in one lab, like dentistry lab and A+ lab, or do you have to pay for
we have an open lab. All one area is open.
It's a huge open lab.
Yeah, right.
And what's the area of that open lab?
Oh, much bigger than this.
4 of these.
4 of these.
Plus you have the open office, computer science, for multimedia, there's machines there for them to come in. And we're open from 8 in the morning till 10 at night. So we have our advanced students serve as tutors. So yeah, it works pretty good. So become a test center. Okay, the cost. So the course was offered through our regular summer session, $26 per unit for high school graduates. If they're currently in high school, we had quite a few juniors. They were still in high school. They pay nothing here in California. That's still in effect. I don't know how long that's going to last, but so they pay nothing. The students pay for the textbook, the exam fees, $62 per student. We paid it through our regional Cisco Academy program funds, so students paid nothing. We had pizza parties. It was quite a community. The kids were there. They were happy to be there.
Who paid for pizza?
We did. Well, it cost us $1,200 to $1,500 for the whole program. That's what, it was worth it. I mean, 5 of those kids matriculated to Ohlone. They may never have done that. So. Great.
Okay, thank you, Richard. I really appreciate that. I hope, was that valuable to see a working example from here in Northern California, since a lot of you are from here? Did that help Rhode Island with some of the...
It's giving you some ideas, but it sounds like key to getting the data which is up on the testing center. It seems to me that it's in Cisco's interest to make that data available now without you becoming a testing center.
Well, and Joni runs doing that by, so she's frustrated too, probably because we'll...
Okay,
good. Let me just finish this. I'll let you guys out early. It's been a good class. We also, at the 4-year college level, have a wonderful relationship with CSU Monterey Bay. I didn't see either of the contacts here today, but they have a wonderful 4-year, it's not DSIT, but it's a networking. CSIT, Computer Science and Information Technology. So anyway, Cisco, through the 3 Monterey Bay area community colleges, has academies that all articulate into the lower division part of their program. Right. And so that they can actually take credits with them going to CSU and B. And because of this tight ecosystem that they've been developing, through an NSF grant, they created an internship program called MPICT. So they've got the pathways from high school in Salinas, Monterey, Santa Cruz, Pacific Grove, and some of the other areas that all feed into the 3 community colleges. And the 3 community colleges can transfer up into the CSU Monterey Bay program. Anyway, one of the faculty members that's in the networking department at CSU Monterey Bay, through an NSF grant, put together an internship program and went out and found partners, of which Cisco was one of them, to select students to work. And so the students came from the community colleges to feed into the CSU and B program, but the funding was through an NSF grant for 3 years to administer it, and they received quite a bit of money, as I recall. $500,000 or something like that, over a 3-year period. So, but anyway, we had 6 or 8 partners involved. Cisco was one of them. I think that there were 2 student interns for each organization that was willing to put up the minimum hourly rate and so forth. The Naval Postgraduate School down there hired a couple in their IT department. So really well done. But the reason I bring it up is because besides the work experience that these guys have the opportunity to participate in, you know, what are they going to do to distinguish themselves? So first of all, get accepted into the internship program. Do they have industry certification? They may or may not, but it's certainly something to think about. And then once those students are in those organizations, if they want to continue to work and differentiate themselves, again, certification becomes very important to sort of validating your skills and standing out. And so I just want to close. That's kind of a far-fetched example for my certification presentation, but I think it's realistic. So next slide. Just summarizing all the points we're trying to hit today and takeaways, especially for your information questions from Rhode Island and New York. Is that where you were from?
Yes.
Massachusetts. It is really, you're right, certification needs to be an outcome, part of a program of study to help get those Perkins donors to not only fund instructor training, but to provide equipment in the classroom and do all the things that you can do with Perkins dollars at K-12 level and the community college level. Improve the quality and quantity of job opportunities for the students that are competing in a tough economy and get a job. Guarantee the skills and knowledge of the workers. Certification is dynamic. They have to re-up, at least with us, every 3 years. They have to stay current. Better prepare students for college and the workforce, and require instructors to be actively involved and qualified for student success. Excellent. Here's a blog. Go ahead. Here's my contact information if you need it. I want to thank you for your time today. We're done about 10 minutes early, so I'll give that back to you. And I guess I'll take any questions at this point, or you're free to.
Are you considering the questions towards giving them voice over IP or video over IP training, or just staying at CCNA?
So I think your question is, do we have curriculum for voice around the new advanced CCNA voice certification? We have our community working on that right now. There's instructors from 6 different community colleges across Canada and the U.S. that have formed a Tiger team, and that's actually being worked on. The Cisco Academy, Cisco as an organization has not invested dollars into formal curriculum for that.
Do they have a certification?
There's a voice certification and then there's a wireless certification, both of which we, and security is the third one. Yeah.
You mentioned that the academy programs are reorganized. Based on what you know about the reorganization, how does that change anything that you presented to us?
It doesn't, because what's changing in terms of academy evolution is what you're referring to. That's just processes and platforms that are changing. So we flattened the partner model. We have new partner types that I'm sure you're familiar with already. And then obviously Polar Express is the code name for the CE for the old Academy Connection platform. It has a new user interface and has become more robust over time. Certification is a part of that. So as new certs and skills, test questions within the certs are developed by Cisco Learning and Development Organization, the Networking Academy will keep its courses, student courses current with those certification changes as we always have in the past. So the Academy evolution won't do anything to certification. Anything else?
Yeah, one thing I was real concerned about when Cisco went from the CCNA to the discovery and exploration. And I teach community college. My students are coming out of the workforce looking for a secondary job or secondary education to improve their skills, and then getting into Cisco, and they get into the exploration. And we start them off in exploration because they hadn't had discovery in high school. So they've been out so long. You sit down there in the first semester and they were wondering, what's something like this? What's an IP address? The very basics that when they teach in discovery, they didn't know. And Cisco didn't address this So what I had to do was take the discovery course and pick out the essentials of discovery and put into a course of introduction to networking and made that a prerequisite to Cisco. I think that was a big mistake that Cisco made, because it gave us a really, really hard time transitioning from CCNA to exploration.
From discovery to exploration?
Yeah.
What school are you from?
Pardon?
What school are you from?
Ohlone College in Bjerke, Texas.
You know, as an instructor, do you have a reaction to that? Or?
Yeah, well, we found the same thing to be true, and we actually teach the discovery curriculum at our college and the exploration. So we have Discovery 1, 2 in our sort of introduction to
That takes a long time to teach 4 semesters of discovery, then turn around and take 4 semesters of exploration.
Right, so we do the exploration in half a semester.
Yeah.
Of course, it's the 8 weeks.
That's
So
what
it's
I do too now.
yeah.
I teach exploration 1 and 2, 8 weeks apiece, and 3 and 4 and 8 weeks apiece. So
Right.
it's only 2 semesters.
Exactly. Which is, yeah, it's tough. They really need to, it's networking, and they need to come in with the right skills, and we're hoping that they'll learn more of these things in the high school, if we could start them earlier there. That could help. Yeah.
Free high school.
You know, we found the same problem when we migrated from this people to the exploration. We basically started teaching the whole principle from the first course, binary